What a mess Afghanistan has become here at the very end. Always has been a mess. But here we are 20 years after George W. Bush ordered the invasion of that country. Here we are once again with the images coming out of that country now of people not trying to cling to the bottom of helicopters, but trying to cling to the sides of these huge U.S. military transport jets. I'm sure you've seen some of those videos. It's just horrifying. Thousands of people chasing one of these great big C-130s, I believe they are. Huge transport jets clinging to the side. What do they think will happen if that plane goes airborne? You know, if it takes off like it's supposed to. I've been searching by the time you hear this, of course, Biden will have spoken. I don't know what he's going to say or what he did say. I'll be watching it later on today, just as you will, probably. But here this morning in the foothills of the North Georgia mountains, searching the web to try to find something that would be coherent or a collection of somethings that I could use to talk about in this podcast about what has happened there. And to do so requires, of course, a suspension of the situation we're facing where it concerns the pandemic and how schools are relating to that, how populations are relating to it, the global warming crisis, the fires that are raging across the western United States, this horrific tragedy in Haiti now that is starting to show thousands of people have been killed in this latest earthquake. It just becomes overwhelming. You know what I mean? And the best thing to do would be to just forget about it, wouldn't it? I mean, the best thing for my sanity, your sanity, it would just be to say, well, you know, I'm sorry, it's too big. It doesn't affect me. I live here in my little corner of reality, and I'm not concerned about what's going on in Haiti or Afghanistan or Siberia. I just don't care. But you can't say that, and neither can I. There's no way we can say that. So we have to at least acknowledge, and I don't know. I'm not sure how to do that. After 35 years in this business, I'm sitting here looking out the window into the woods here in the foothills of the North Georgia mountains, just wanting to take off, just run out the door of the studio, head into the woods, build a lean-to, do like they do on Naked and Afraid, get a fire started, find some running water. Huh? We've been talking about this, I don't know, I feel like I've been talking about it since 2001, after the attack on the U.S. Trade Center in Lower Manhattan and the order by George Bush to invade Afghanistan because U.S. intelligence said that's where the training camps of the terrorists were located. Even though there's ample proof, his own words actually, that George Bush really didn't give a shit about what was developing or being developed by Osama bin Laden and the Islamic fundamentalists who wanted us the hell out of Saudi Arabia, which the country that contains the two holiest sites of Islam. But starting then, in 2001, not too long after the attack on the trade towers, and then in 2003, when Bush shifted attention away from Afghanistan and decided to commit the worst war crime a world leader can commit, and that was to invade another country that was defenseless and had done nothing to us, Iraq. So the right-wingers now, the Christian fascists in this country who are just gloating, they're gleeful that this is happening, on Joe Biden's watch. They are trying desperately to blame him for 20 years of mismanagement by every single U.S. government since George Bush, including the sainted Barack Obama, including the foul, despicable, disgusting Donald Trump, up to and including Joe Biden, and everybody who has been involved in this neoliberal foreign policy of ours. The gall of saying that we are going to invade a country and establish a form of government utterly foreign to the people who live there, which is what we did with Afghanistan. It started out as a it should have been a policing action to track down the leaders of the Taliban who had been instrumental in training the terrorists who hit the United States. And it went from that into a full-scale occupation of another country. I wonder if we have learned anything. I wonder if it's too late. I mentioned the other day the loss of American lives, and I grossly overstated it. Actually, it's under 3,000 Americans. Not that that's a small figure, but I'm just trying to correct myself here. 3,000 American military personnel who have died doing what in Afghanistan? Doing what? But I've been through that discussion, that rhetoric, so many times over the past 10, 15 years. I've also advocated the bringing home of American troops in countries where we're not wanted. And if ever there was a country that did not want the United States for reasons other than graft and corruption, it was Afghanistan. I don't know what we thought we were doing there. I really don't. I know we were torturing people there. We were kidnapping people and sending them to Guantanamo, where they would be further tortured. The record of the United States in some of these Asian countries is just horrible, as it has been for the past 120 years. It's just horrifying what we have done. But that's a different story, I guess, or a different topic to discuss. But the editorial board of the New York Times has attempted to put this into coherent thought or coherent after-action observations. I guess that would be what we would call this. And I want to share this with you because it makes the point that I would like to make, that is going to be made over and over again, but without the hysterics that are going to come from the fascist right in this country, the Christian fascists. And let's be clear on one thing. The Taliban is a religious organization. It is Islamic fundamentalism. Its counterpart in the United States is Christian fundamentalism. Its counterpart in Israel is the super-Orthodox or the ultra-Orthodox Jews. All these religions, these three Abrahamic religions, have at their core a fundamental beliefs that are very, very similar as you go from Judaism to Christianity to Islam. And they are vile religious beliefs. They're horrifying. The subjugation of women, the advocating of ignorance where it concerns science, and reason and logic, the focus on this religious horseshit through all three religions, it's awful. But I'm sure you understand that the Taliban is not a political organization. It is a religious organization. And as such, it will treat the people in Afghanistan in a manner that the Christian fascists in this country would treat people. And that is suppression of women, the continuation of ignorance, rejection of science, and no democracy whatsoever, a strict top-down organization of the political aspects of the country. But anyway, I just want to make clear, and I'm sure you know, that even though thousands of years separate the culture of the United States and the culture of Afghanistan, the religious nutcases in both countries, given the power, will perform their duties exactly the same. Exactly the same. But the editorial board of the New York Times puts it this way. Some of what I'm going to share with you will be direct quotes and some will not. But they write that the rapid reconquest of the capital, Kabul, by the Taliban, and I think that occurred in its final phase yesterday, Sunday. The rapid reconquest after two decades of a staggeringly expensive, bloody effort to establish a secular government with functioning security forces in Afghanistan is, above all, unutterably tragic. Tragic because the American dream of being the so-called indispensable nation in shaping a world where the values of civil rights and women's empowerment and religious tolerance rule proved to be just that, a dream. And let me digress. If you'll notice, the idea of the values of civil rights in this country are being trashed by the Christian fascists. The value of women's empowerment in this country are being trashed by the Christian fascists. The idea of religion's tolerance in this country is trashed by the Christian fascists, even to the extent where the Christian fascists will tell you there's only one way to this imaginary heaven that they've constructed, and that is to believe exactly as they believe, just like the Taliban. Now back to the editorial board. This longest of American wars was at the beginning codenamed Operation Enduring Freedom, and then changed to Operation Freedom's Sentinel. But after more than $2 trillion spent and just about 2,500 American service members' lives lost in Afghanistan, it is difficult to see what of lasting significance has been achieved. And I'll digress again, from my perch thousands of miles away, and I will never go to Afghanistan, but from where I sit, from what I've read, the videos I've seen, the lasting significance that we've achieved in Afghanistan is nothing. Zero. Not a thing. Except to add to the power of this religious group of fascists, the Taliban. The Times goes on to say it's all the more tragic because of the certainty that many of the Afghans who worked with the American forces and bought into the dream, and especially the girls and women who had, with our occupation there, embraced a measure of equality, all of that has been left to the mercy of a ruthless enemy. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.